quiet in the courtroom. Today I saw lives unfold in ways that were both ordinary and extraordinary, all within the walls of this chamber. It began with a story about a computer. Peter White claimed he had loaned it to his son, and after 2 years, it remained in the hands of his son's ex-girlfriend. Pictures of grandchildren were stored inside. The father's anger simmered as he blamed her for his son's troubles. But the twist hit early. His son had pled guilty for violating a protective order. The law, impartial as ever, did not care for anger or emotion. Responsibility was his son's alone. The computer, the photos, the feelings, they all became symbols of consequences and misplaced blame. By the end, the case was dismissed. The lesson was stark. Gifts or loans, if left unclaimed for years, cannot be reclaimed by anger, only by reason. Then there was Olivia Goran. She had posted $7,500 bail for her friend Jonathan Spears.
He returned only $2,500. The twist? The circumstances were chaotic. A high-speed chase, wheelies on the freeway, the clamor of youth and fear blending into a dangerous night. Jonathan had tried to protect his friend Daniel, distracting the police, and in that moment, the world seemed to teeter between heroism and recklessness. Yet the law was clear. Intentions could not override obligations. The suspense in the courtroom was palpable as the missing $5,000 loomed over the proceedings. Accountability demanded repayment, and justice, though harsh, was delivered. Tyler Daniels entered next, a young man with a gambling problem and a habit of finding himself in trouble. He borrowed $3,700 from his girlfriend's mother to cover debts, believing perhaps it was a gift. The twist revealed itself when the court weighed the facts. The law saw no ambiguity, money lent must be repaid, and the human heart cannot rewrite obligations. Tyler faced consequences not for malice, but for neglect, for thinking promises were optional. The suspense in the room thickened as he realized the full weight of what he owed. Meanwhile, a mother and daughter fought over a Chevy Silverado. Crystal sold it, claiming it was hers. Her mother argued otherwise, citing partial payments and years of presumed ownership. The tension was in the air, a quiet, simmering conflict that held the courtroom's attention. Insurance records, partial payments, and the tangled web of assumptions revealed a truth neither party fully understood. The twist, what one thought was theirs, was not always theirs. The law, impartial and unyielding, dismissed the case, leaving clarity in its wake but a sting of reality for both mother and daughter. Sierra Pickering, a young graphic designer, had quit her job, yet had not been paid $987.30. Time cards and evidence showed she had worked diligently, faithfully. The suspense came not from confrontation, but from numbers, from truth hidden in plain sight. Mr. Brown had failed to pay, and finally, the law intervened. She was owed the money. It was a reminder that even in mundane disputes, justice requires patience, diligence, and attention to detail. Two college friends clashed over an apartment transfer fee and cable bills. Passwords, miscommunication, and failed agreements turned a simple roommate situation into a prolonged battle. Suspense rose with every claim and counterclaim, every attempt to place blame. In the end, responsibility became clear, $625 owed. The twist was subtle, but powerful. Sometimes the law is not about emotion, but clarity and fairness. Then a teenager tried to jump over a vintage Mustang, denting it in the process. Who was responsible? Chaos mixed with recklessness, adrenaline, and poor judgment. The twist revealed itself as the evidence unfolded. The damage had occurred, and responsibility could not be ignored. Restitution was required. Lessons about accountability and youthful impulsiveness were learned the hard way. Sergio Solana had given a promise ring to his girlfriend, only to see it returned after she scratched his bumper. The symbolism of love clashed with reality. The twist. Sentiment could not alter responsibility. A promise ring did not outweigh obligations. And the case was dismissed, leaving only a quiet reminder that human emotions do not always sway the law. Veronica DeLay and Elizabeth Peterson shared an apartment, two young women trying to navigate independence. Passwords, cables, and lease transfer fees became flashpoints of tension. One wanted out, the other remained. Each side blamed the other for inconvenience, discomfort, and lost money. Suspense held the room as small grievances escalated into legal questions. Ultimately, Elizabeth owed $625 for the transfer fee, and all counterclaims were dismissed. The twists here were in the minutiae. Small things, a password, a locked cable box, carried weight, shaping responsibility in ways the roommates had never imagined. Throughout these stories, suspense came from human nature: anger, carelessness, miscommunication, and misunderstanding. People lied, forgot, exaggerated, or assumed. Emotions collided with reality, and in each twist, the courtroom stood as arbiter, cutting through the chaos. Responsibility emerged as the golden thread: debts owed, damages caused, promises broken, ownership disputed. Every story carried suspense, every verdict offered resolution, and every twist reminded the audience that actions have consequences. Even the smallest disputes, unpaid wages, scratched bumpers, loaned computers, revealed human drama. Suspense thrived in waiting for truth to emerge, for evidence to tip the scales. Each case, while unique, shared a pattern: expectation versus reality, perception versus law, chaos versus order. The tension was not just in the outcomes, but in watching people face the consequences of choices they had made, sometimes carelessly, sometimes knowingly. In the end, these cases, computers, cars, bail money, gambling debts, apartment fees, promise rings, wove a narrative larger than themselves. They revealed human nature, frailty, and accountability. And as the courtroom emptied, the lesson lingered. Suspense is not only in what happens, but in who bears responsibility when it does. Twists will come, consequences will arrive, and in every corner of life, justice quietly observes, impartial and unyielding.